January 17, 1991, under the leadership of General Norman Schwarzkopf, Operation Desert Shield becomes Operation Desert Storm as the air war campaign begins in response to Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait. At 0300 hours Kuwaiti time, jet fighters take off and missile attacks begin. U.S. President George H.W. Bush announces the onset.
Now, the 28 countries with forces in the Gulf area have exhausted all reasonable efforts to reach a peaceful resolution, have no choice but to drive Saddam from Kuwait by force. We will not fail.
U.S. Marine Dennis McHawes was in the front lines in the Kuwaiti desert when the attack began.
It was about 3 weeks before the air war started is when I arrived in country. I was in the infantry. I was a ground fighter. That's what we did. We're the first, the first to fight, as they always say, the first ones in, the last ones to leave. The first night that the Scud missiles hit, we still had the tents at the time, and I was in my sleeping bag, had the buttons and the zipper up, and sometime during my sleeping, the sleeping bag had rolled to where the buttons were behind me. We hear the air raid siren go off. We're going to take incoming fire, and we had to get out. We had trenches built outside that we could go out and take cover in. Well, when I went to open my sleeping bag, I couldn't get out. All I got was cloth, and so I ended up, it looked like it was snowing by the time I got out of there because I had destroyed the sleeping bag. All the stuffing was flying through the air and everything. Everybody got a pretty good kick out of the fact that the new boot that had just got to the platoon had destroyed his sleeping bag about 2 weeks after he got there. Then it got where it was almost a nightly occurrence that you're taking that. And within just a matter of days, the air war started. Then the night that the air war started, we'd actually come off patrol. We were running patrols, and we got back into the hooches there, and everybody, we could hear a lot of commotion. The sirens started going off and things like that. And I remember that night walking outside, and you could see the planes and all the fireworks going off, and that's when the actual war started. Once the air war started, we got rid of the tents, and I lived in a hole in the ground. We would move at night, dig skirmisher trenches, and we'd stay down in those holes at night. And for about 3 months, I lived in a hole. Showered every 30 days, whether I needed it or not. That was what we did. And when I say shower, they would bring a truck out with a big, what they call a water bowl on the back of it, and it would shoot a little stream of water out, and you would strip off in your hole, and you'd run out in the middle of the desert, and they'd squirt you down with water, and you'd come back in. Living-wise, same T-shirt for about 3 months. Got a new pair of socks about once a week. They come out and throw you new socks so your feet wouldn't be too bad. So it was, they drive by, throw food out in the holes for you. Then once we got out into the holes and we start moving it closer to Kuwait, we would take mortar fire almost on a daily basis, and it's strange because you get almost used to the sound of those coming in. It's never you're never comfortable. I don't want to make a mistake there, but it becomes a part of your everyday life, it seems like.
Dennis McHawes would be in the first wave of troops to cross the Kuwaiti border into Iraq when the ground war began on February 24, 1991.